Hello, and welcome to English in Fluency. My name is Alex, and I am so glad you have chosen to spend some time with me today. Before we begin, I want you to think about something. Think about a big goal you have, a dream that sits in the back of your mind. Maybe it's learning a new skill, starting a business, getting into better physical shape, or writing a book. Now, I want you to think about the feeling you get when you imagine achieving it. It's a wonderful feeling, isn't it? A rush of excitement, pride, and happiness. But then, another feeling often follows close behind. It's the feeling of the immense, overwhelming distance between where you are right now and where you want to be. The excitement fades, and it's replaced by a sense of dread, a feeling of, how could I possibly get all of that done? And just like that, the powerful engine of motivation sputters and dies before it even has a chance to start. We've all been there. We have all felt that spark of inspiration, that desire to change, only to find it extinguished by the sheer size of our ambitions. We tell ourselves we'll start tomorrow, or on Monday, or when we feel motivated. But what if I told you that waiting to feel motivated is one of the biggest mistakes we make? What if I told you that motivation isn't something you have, but something you create? What if there was a simple, learnable skill that could act as your permanent, personal source of motivation, a source that never runs dry, no matter how big your goals are? Today, we are going to explore that exact skill. This isn't about temporary hacks or cheap tricks. This is about fundamentally changing your relationship with action and ambition. This is the secret to how you can always stay motivated. So please, get comfortable, take a deep breath, and let's begin this journey together. Let's start by talking about what motivation really is, or rather, what we mistakenly believe it to be. For most of us, motivation feels like a magical force, an unpredictable wave of energy. One day, we wake up and the wave is high. We feel unstoppable, ready to conquer the world. We clean the entire house, reply to all our emails, start that new project, and go for a long run. On these days, we feel like the best version of ourselves. But then, the next day, we wake up and the wave is gone. The shore is flat. There is no energy, no drive. The thought of doing anything productive feels like trying to push a giant rock up a steep hill. We call this a lack of motivation, and we resign ourselves to waiting. We wait for the magical wave to return. This common view of motivation as a feeling that comes and goes is what keeps so many of us stuck. We have made ourselves passive recipients, waiting for inspiration to strike us like lightning. But real, sustainable progress is not built on lightning strikes. It is built on something much more reliable, much more controllable. The truth is, action comes before motivation. It is the friction of starting, the simple act of doing something, that generates the heat of motivation. Let me tell you a story about a man named Leo. Leo was a talented graphic designer who worked for a large marketing firm. He was good at his job, but his real dream was to become a children's book illustrator. He had a beautiful idea for a story about a small, shy firefly who was afraid of the dark. He had notebooks filled with sketches of the main character, a little firefly named Flicker. He could see the whole book in his mind, the vibrant colors, the gentle story, the happy faces of children reading it. Every Sunday evening, Leo would sit at his desk, look at his expensive art supplies, and tell himself, this week, I will finally start. He would feel a surge of excitement. He imagined himself working late into the night, lost in his creative flow. But then, Monday would come. He'd get home from his day job, feeling tired. He would look at the blank white page of his sketchbook, and it would seem like a vast, empty desert. The idea of filling it, of creating a whole book, felt impossibly large. He'd think, "I'm too tired tonight. I don't feel creative. I'll start tomorrow when I have more energy, when I feel more motivated." Of course, tomorrow would come and go, and the same story would repeat. The expensive art supplies gathered dust. The beautiful story about Flicker the firefly remained a prisoner in Leo's mind. Leo was waiting for the wave of motivation, but the wave never seemed to come. He believed he needed to feel like an illustrator before he could start illustrating. He had it completely backwards. The core problem for Leo, and for so many of us, is that we tie our actions to our feelings. We create a rule for ourselves that says, "I will only do this difficult thing when I feel good, when I feel inspired, when I feel motivated." This is a recipe for failure, because our feelings are the most unreliable things in the world. They are influenced by the weather, by what we ate for lunch, by a single comment someone made, by how well we slept. If you build your dreams on the foundation of your fleeting emotions, you are building on shifting sand. The secret, the simple skill we are here to discuss, is to sever that link. It is the skill of taking action regardless of how you feel. It is the ability to generate motivation through action, not the other way around. This skill is built on a very simple but profound principle, which we can call the momentum principle. Imagine a massive, heavy train sitting stationary on the tracks. To get it moving requires an enormous amount of energy. The first push is the hardest. It's a slow, grinding, difficult effort. But once the wheels begin to turn, even just a little bit, the next push becomes slightly easier. And the next one is easier still. Soon, the train is rolling, building momentum with every turn of its wheels. Eventually, it reaches a speed where it seems to be moving effortlessly, carried forward by its own weight and motion. Your motivation works in exactly the same way. The beginning is always the hardest part. The resistance is at its maximum. But if you can find a way to give it that first tiny push, you create a little bit of momentum that makes the next push easier. So, how do we give ourselves that first tiny push when we feel zero motivation? The answer is to make the initial action so laughably small, so ridiculously easy, that it's almost impossible not to do it. A popular name for this technique is the 2-minute rule. The rule states that any new habit or task should be started with an action that can be done in less than 2 minutes. Let's return to Leo and his dream of illustrating a children's book. His goal, illustrate a book, is huge and intimidating. It's the stationary train. The 2-minute version is not draw a whole page or even sketch a character. The 2-minute version is open my sketchbook to a blank page. That's it. That is the entire task. Can he do that even when he feels tired and uninspired? Of course he can. It requires almost no effort. But what happens when he opens the sketchbook? He has given the train its first tiny push. The blank page is now in front of him. Maybe he then thinks, well, since I'm here, I might as well pick up a pencil. That's the second push. Then, I'll just draw a single circle for Flicker's head. That's the third. Before he knows it, he might have spent 10 or 15 minutes sketching. not because he was struck by a sudden wave of motivation, but because the tiny, effortless act of opening the book created just enough momentum to lead to the next small action. This principle can be applied to absolutely any goal. Let's say you want to start exercising. The big goal, go to the gym for an hour, feels daunting, especially after a long day. The 2-minute version is put on your workout clothes. That's all you have to commit to. Just change your clothes. What happens next? Well, you're standing there in your gym shorts and t-shirt. It seems a little silly to just take them off again. You might think, I guess I could do a few stretches. And after stretching, maybe I'll just walk on the treadmill for 5 minutes. The initial easy action creates a path for further action. Do you want to learn to meditate? Don't commit to meditating for 20 minutes. The 2-minute habit is sit on the cushion and close your eyes for 1 minute. Do you want to keep your home tidy? Don't think about clean the whole kitchen. The 2-minute habit is put 1 dish in the dishwasher. The power of this approach is that it bypasses the part of your brain that resists effort. The brain sees the huge task and screams, "No! That's too much work. Let's watch videos online instead." But when the task is put on your shoes or open the book, the brain barely registers it as effort. It thinks, "Fine, we can do that." You are tricking your own resistance into letting you begin. And the beginning is everything. Now, I want you to pause for a moment. Right now. Think about that big goal you considered at the beginning, the one that feels so far away. I want you to apply the 2-minute rule to it. What is the absolute smallest, most effortless first step you could take? A step that takes less than 120 seconds. If your goal is to write a novel, maybe it's open a new document and write 1 sentence. If your goal is to learn to play the guitar, maybe it's take the guitar out of its case. If your goal is to learn a new language, it's open your language app and do 1 lesson. Don't think about the second step. Just focus on that tiny, 2-minute first step. Say it out loud to yourself. Feel how the pressure associated with that goal suddenly decreases. It no longer feels like a mountain you have to climb, but a single, small pebble you just have to pick up. This is the first part of building your motivation engine. You are learning to be the one who provides the first push, instead of waiting for some external force to do it for you. You are taking back control. This idea of starting small connects to a much deeper psychological concept, which is the power of identity. Often, when we try to change, we focus on the outcome. We say, "I want to lose 20 pounds," or "I want to write a book." These are outcome-based goals. The problem is that they are distant, and our progress towards them can feel incredibly slow, which is demotivating. A far more powerful approach is to focus on identity. Instead of, "I want to write a book," the focus becomes, "I want to be a writer." Instead of, "I want to run a marathon," it's, "I want to be a runner." Why is this simple shift in language so important? Because our identities shape our actions. Once you start to see yourself as a certain type of person, you begin to act in alignment with that identity. The real magic happens when you realize that every action you take is a vote for the type of person you want to become. Let's think about Leo again. When he avoids his sketchbook, he is casting a vote for his current identity. I am a person who dreams about being an illustrator. But when he uses the 2-minute rule and simply opens his sketchbook, he has cast a small vote for a new identity. I am an illustrator. It doesn't matter that he didn't create a masterpiece. It doesn't even matter if he only drew a single line. The action itself is evidence. His brain registers this action and thinks, huh, illustrators open sketchbooks. I just opened a sketchbook. Maybe I am an illustrator. The next day, he does it again. He opens the book and picks up a pencil. Another vote. Day after day, these tiny 2-minute actions accumulate. Each one is a small piece of evidence reinforcing his new identity. He is no longer a person waiting for motivation to become an illustrator. He is proving to himself, action by action, that he is an illustrator. An illustrator is simply someone who illustrates. And he is doing that, even in the smallest possible way. This is how true, lasting change happens. It's not about one heroic effort. It's about the accumulation of thousands of tiny wins, thousands of votes for your desired identity. When you put on your running shoes, you are casting a vote for, I am a runner. When you read one page of a book, you are casting a vote for, I am a reader. When you practice a new language for 2 minutes, you are casting a vote for, I am a language learner. The goal is not to achieve the outcome immediately. The goal is to simply cast your vote for today, and then do it again tomorrow. Eventually, you won't need to convince yourself. The evidence will be overwhelming. Your identity will have shifted, and the actions that support that identity will start to feel natural and automatic. You won't have to fight yourself to go for a run, because that's just what runners do. You won't have to force yourself to write, because that's what writers do. The internal resistance melts away because you are no longer trying to do something. You are simply being who you are. But what about that resistance? We all know that inner voice, the one that, even when faced with a ridiculously small task, still finds a reason not to do it. I'm too tired to even put on my shoes. Opening the document is pointless if I'm not going to write anything. This is the voice of your old identity, fighting to maintain the status quo. It's comfortable being the person who doesn't exercise or the person who only dreams of writing. Change is uncomfortable. Your brain is wired to conserve energy and avoid discomfort. The key to overcoming this resistance is not to fight it with brute force or willpower. Willpower is a finite resource. It gets depleted throughout the day. Instead, you need to be smarter. You need to design your environment to make your desired actions the path of least resistance. Let me introduce you to another person, a woman named Clara. Clara used to love playing the piano. She played for years as a child and teenager, but life got busy with work and family, and her beautiful upright piano became little more than a piece of furniture to display photos on. She missed it terribly and wanted to start playing again. Her goal was practice piano for 30 minutes every day. But every evening, she'd look at the piano, see the closed lid, the stack of mail on top of it, and the piano bench tucked away in the corner, and the effort just felt like too much. Her resistance won every time. So, she decided to apply these principles. First, she made the starting ritual tiny. Her new goal was simply to sit at the piano for 2 minutes. But she went a step further. She designed her environment to make that action as easy as possible. She cleared all the clutter off the piano. She left the lid open. She pulled the piano bench out so it was inviting her to sit down. She opened her favorite sheet music to a simple, beloved song and left it on the stand. Now, What happened when she walked into the room? The path of least resistance had changed. It was actually more effort to ignore the beckoning piano bench and the open sheet music than it was to simply sit down for a moment. She had made her good habit obvious, easy, and attractive. This concept of environment design is incredibly powerful. You are essentially making decisions for your future self. You are setting up a system so that when your motivation is low, the right choice is also the easiest choice. If you want to eat healthier, don't hide the fruit in a drawer in your refrigerator. Put a beautiful bowl of apples and bananas on your kitchen counter, where you will see it constantly. At the same time, make the bad habits harder. Move the cookies to a high shelf in an opaque container at the back of the pantry. You're adding friction to the undesirable action. If you want to watch less television, take the batteries out of the remote control and put them in another room. The small amount of friction this creates is often enough to make you pause and reconsider your choice. If you want to read more, don't leave your book on a shelf. Leave it on your pillow when you make your bed in the morning. When you go to bed at night, you'll have to physically pick it up. And since it's already in your hands, you're much more likely to read a page or two. Let's take a moment to apply this. Think about your 2-minute action again. Now, think about your physical environment. How can you change your space right now to make that action more obvious and easier to do? Can you lay out your workout clothes? Can you place the book you want to read on your coffee table? Can you create a shortcut on your computer's desktop that opens the document you need to work on? Can you put your guitar on a stand in the middle of your living room instead of in its case in the closet? Small changes in your environment lead to massive changes in your behavior over time. You are making your intentions visible and your actions effortless. You are creating a space where motivation is not something you have to hunt for, but something that naturally emerges from your surroundings. You are making it easy to cast those daily votes for your new identity. Now, we need to talk about something very important, something that derails more progress than almost anything else: the trap of perfectionism. We start our new habits with great enthusiasm. We use the 2-minute rule. We design our environment, and we build a chain of successful days. We feel great. We are casting our votes, building our new identity. And then, it happens. Life gets in the way. We get sick, we have a family emergency, or we just have a terrible, exhausting day and we miss one day. We break the chain. For many people, this is the end. The all-or-nothing mindset kicks in. We think, well, I've ruined my perfect streak. I've failed. I might as well give up completely. This single misstep turns into a downward spiral, and we end up right back where we started. The solution to this is to adopt a new, simple rule. Never miss twice. Missing one day is an accident. Missing 2 days is the beginning of a new habit. Anyone can have a bad day. Successful people have bad days. The difference is that they get back on track as quickly as possible. The day after you miss your habit, it is crucial that you do it, no matter how small the effort. If Leo misses a day of opening his sketchbook, he doesn't spend the next day feeling guilty and beating himself up. He just makes sure, with absolute certainty, that he opens that sketchbook the next day, even if it's just for 10 seconds. He is repairing the chain. He is reaffirming his identity. The focus is not on being perfect, but on never letting one mistake turn into two. This mindset shift is liberating. It gives you permission to be human. It acknowledges that setbacks will happen, but it provides a clear, simple plan for recovery. It turns a potential failure into a simple data point, a reminder to recommit. Think of it like this. If you were driving to a destination and you took a wrong turn, you wouldn't just throw your hands up and say, "Well, that's it. I'll never get there." Now, and drive your car into a ditch. That would be absurd. You would simply consult the map, turn around, and get back on the correct road. Your habits and goals should be treated the same way. When you miss a day, you've just taken a minor wrong turn. Don't compound the error. Don't waste time on guilt or frustration. Just look at your map, your system of tiny habits, and your desired identity, and make the next right turn. Get back on track immediately. This resilience, this ability to recover quickly from small failures, is far more important for long-term success than achieving a perfect, unbroken streak. It's in the recovery that your commitment is truly forged. It's easy to do things when you feel good, and everything is going perfectly. It's what you do on the day after a bad day that truly defines your trajectory. So far, we have built a powerful system. We have the 2-minute rule to get us started and build momentum. We have the focus on identity-based habits to make change last. We have environment design to make our actions easy. And we have the never miss twice rule to ensure we are resilient. This system alone is enough to create incredible change in your life. But if we want to truly master the skill of motivation, we can go even deeper. We can supercharge this engine by connecting our actions to a profound sense of purpose. The mechanics of momentum can get you started, but a deep, emotional why is what will keep you going when things get truly difficult. When you face not just a bad day, but a bad week or a bad month. Finding your why is about asking yourself not just what you want to achieve, but why it truly matters to you. There is a simple but effective technique for this, often called the 5 whys. You start with your goal and you ask why 5 times, each time digging a layer deeper. Let's go back to Leo. His goal is, I want to illustrate a children's book. Why? Because I want to share my story about Flicker the Firefly. Why? Because I think the story has a good message for kids about overcoming fear. Why? Because I was a very shy and fearful child, and books were my escape and my comfort. I want to give that same comfort to another child. Why? Because making a child feel understood and less alone in the world feels like the most meaningful thing I could possibly do with my talent. Why? Because I believe that my purpose is to use my creativity to bring a little more light and kindness into the world. Do you feel the difference? He started with a project, but he ended with a purpose. Now, when he sits down at his desk and feels tired, he is not just thinking about the difficult task of drawing. He is thinking about that shy child who needs his story. He is thinking about his purpose of bringing light into the world. The act of opening his sketchbook is no longer a chore. It is an act of kindness, an expression of his deepest values. This powerful why is the ultimate fuel for motivation. It provides a reserve of energy that willpower alone cannot match. It reframes the struggle. The difficulty is no longer a reason to stop. It is part of the meaningful journey. I encourage you to try this for yourself. Take your biggest goal and ask yourself, why? 5 times. Be honest. Keep digging until you hit an answer that resonates with you on an emotional level. Write it down. Put it somewhere you can see it every day. Let it be the North Star that guides you when you feel lost. When your motivation wanes, your why will be there to remind you of what truly matters. The 2-minute action gets you moving, and your powerful why gives that movement direction and meaning. The combination is almost unstoppable. As you continue on this journey, building momentum and casting votes for your new identity, you will naturally want to progress. The 2-minute start is the gateway, but you won't stay there forever. As the action becomes a habit, you can begin to slowly and gradually increase the duration and difficulty. This is where the idea of deliberate practice comes in. It's not just about putting in the time, it's about the quality and focus of that time. Once Clara made sitting at the piano a consistent habit, she didn't just mindlessly play songs, she decided that for 10 minutes each day, she would focus on one specific thing. One day, it was practicing her scales to improve her finger dexterity. The next day, it was focusing on playing a difficult passage of a song more smoothly. The key is to be intentional. This focused effort, even for a short period, is far more effective at improving your skills than hours of distracted, mindless repetition. This applies to any skill. If you're learning a language, don't just passively listen to a podcast. For 10 minutes, actively listen for a specific grammatical structure. Try to repeat sentences out loud, mimicking the pronunciation. If you're a writer, don't just aim for a word count. For 15 minutes, focus on writing more vivid descriptions, or on improving your dialogue. The goal is to always be operating at the edge of your abilities in a state of focused challenge. This is where growth happens. This is how you go from being a beginner to being an expert. It starts with the 2-minute habit to ensure consistency, and then you layer on short bursts of deliberate, focused practice to ensure progress. You are not just showing up, you are showing up to get better. This process itself becomes motivating because you can see and feel yourself improving. Progress is the greatest motivator of all. Let's imagine our characters a year later. Leo, who started by just opening his sketchbook, has now fully illustrated his book about Flicker the Firefly. He is working with a publisher, and his dream is about to become a reality. It didn't happen in one sudden burst of creativity. It happened through hundreds of small, consistent sessions, each one starting with a simple, easy action, each one a vote for his identity as an illustrator. Clara's home is now filled with the sound of music. She plays the piano every day, not because she forces herself to, but because it has become a cherished part of her identity, a source of joy and expression. She is even composing her own short pieces. Her journey back to music began not with a grand resolution, but with the tiny, humble act of sitting on the bench. And we can imagine a third person, a young man named Marco, who wanted to get in shape. He started by putting on his running shoes and walking to the end of his street and back every day. It took less than 5 minutes, but he never missed twice. Slowly, he walked a little further. Then he started to jog. A year later, he is finishing his first 5K race, healthier and more confident than he has ever been. His transformation was not the result of a grueling, unsustainable workout plan, but the slow, steady accumulation of thousands of steps, starting with just one. Their stories are not magical. They are stories about the power of a simple skill, a different way of thinking about motivation. They stopped waiting for the wave and learned how to create their own current. They proved that motivation is not the cause of action, but the effect. It is the reward you get for starting. The fire of motivation is not lit by a lightning strike of inspiration, but by the friction of taking that first small step. You don't need to be a hero. You don't need superhuman willpower. You just need to learn how to start small. You need to focus on who you want to become and cast a single vote for that person today. You need to set up your world so that the right things are the easy things. And you need to be kind to yourself when you stumble, and have the courage to get back on track the very next day. This is the skill. This is the path to always staying motivated. It's not about the destination. It's about falling in love with the process of taking those small, consistent steps. As we come to a close, I want you to remember this. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. We have all heard this saying, but we often forget the most important part. You don't have to see the whole journey. You don't have to know how you will handle mile 500. All you ever have to focus on is that very first step. Make it so small, so easy, that you can't say no. Your future self, the person you dream of becoming, is not built in a day. That person is built one tiny action at a time, one vote at a time. The power to change your life is not in some distant motivational future. It is in the choice you make in this very moment. It is in the ridiculously small action you can take right now. So here is my challenge to you, my call to action. I don't want you to just listen to this and forget it. I want you to apply it. Right now. In the comments section below, I want you to write down the 1 2-minute action you are going to take today to move towards your most important goal. What is the vote you are going to cast for your future self? Will you open the book? Will you put on your running shoes? Will you write one sentence? By writing it down, you are making a commitment. You are taking that crucial first step from passive listener to active creator. You are telling yourself and our community here at English in Fluency that you are ready to start building your own momentum. I will be reading your comments, and I can't wait to see the incredible journeys you are all about to begin. And if you found this helpful, please subscribe to the channel and press the notification bell so you don't miss our next session, where we will talk about how to overcome the fear of failure and embrace challenges. Thank you so much for your time and your attention. My name is Alex, and I believe in your ability to build the life you dream of, one tiny step at a time. I will see you in the next one.